Good day, I'm Dr. Demola Kinyoade in the Department of Peace and Conflict Studies at Babalola University at Ekiti, Harvard. We are here today to talk about experience sharing and career paths in development work. There cannot be peace without development, neither can we have development without peace. We want to train students who are relevant to employers. We design our curriculum to ensure that our students, as we train them on academic, intellectual dimension, we also build their professional capacity. And I'm hearing from the people who have been working on the field for decades, sharing their experiences, how they are making social impact. It's one of the strategies for inspiring our students. We believe that when they interact with people who have impacted the society and who are still impacting thousands of lives through their development activities, our students will see how the training we are giving them in school is linked to transforming the society, how they impact lives through developmental work.
When I was growing up, just like students of my age, the thing is that your parents would tell you what to read. For us at that time, it's either medicine or pharmacy or law or accountancy. In discussion with my brother, it was clear that it was either medicine or pharmacy. So I went and read pharmacy at the University of Benin. I graduated in 1986. But an interesting thing was that when I was in school, my books on Marxism were more than books on pharmacy.
That's interesting.
Because I belonged to a Marxist organization, the League of Patriotic Students. It was then that I was trained to have social concern for society, to begin to engage in issues of the wider society and development of society. At that time, I was active in the student union. I was active in the Pharmaceutical Association of Nigerian Students. I was active in Women in Nigeria, and subsequently, I was active in the Socialist Congress of Nigeria. When I finished university, I started work. And for about 12 years, for about 14 years, from 1986 to 2000, I worked as a pharmacist, operating, first of all, hospital pharmacy for internship, hospital pharmacy during youth service, and then community pharmacy, which I ran for about 12 years. And during that period, because of my passion, my flair for and concern for development work, I was doing pharmacy, but I was still doing development work in non-governmental organizations. In fact, I established Health Rights Initiative, and we're working with women in Nigeria. I was part of most of the human rights organizations, civil liberties organization, Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, Campaign for Democracy, and Democratic Alternative. In 1990, 4 years after I left university, I started to do master's degree programs. So that is when I really, in a formal institution, began to study issues of development. So I had a master's in public administration, had a master's in international relations, and then a PhD in public administration, specializing in policy analysis. But in 2000, I made a career change. Even though I had a very successful pharmacy practice, I was the chairman of the Nigerian Association of General Practice Pharmacists in Borno State. I was a distributor to many pharmaceutical companies. But the concern for societal development, for change, the development that will favor the poor and excluded, pushed me. And in March 2000, I started working for the Center for Democracy and Development, along with Dr. Kayode Fayemi, who was the director of the center at that time in Lagos. So I worked there for 4 years. And after that, I joined the ActionAid International as the Deputy Country Director of ActionAid. Because of my passion, diligence, and hard work, after 9 months, I became the Country Director of ActionAid Nigeria. And I was Country Director of ActionAid Nigeria for about 6 years, after which I became the International Head of Campaigns of ActionAid, working in over 50 countries. And while I was International Head of Campaign, I brought the headquarters of International Head of Campaign of ActionAid to Nigeria. But with all of this, I gained a lot of experience. And I looked at the African continent. And our analysis and research shows that, if you like, there were 3 big problems facing Africa. One is leadership. You know, poor leadership or lack of dynamic and visionary leadership. The second is inappropriate strategies or absence of strategies completely. And then the third is wrong development choices. And so that was what motivated me to set up the African Center for Leadership, Strategy, and Development. When I left ActionAid in 2009, many people were worried that how can you be an international organization earning fat salary? Will you go and establish a new organization and start from the scratch? But one of the things that motivated me was the founder of ActionAid, Cecil Jackson Cole. Ironically, one man founded ActionAid, the same man founded Osfam, really? And the same man founded Heritage. Very large organizations into humanitarian work in the United Kingdom today. And for me, I said, no, I cannot just pass through. I have to, be a founder of an organization that will outlive me. So right from 2010, when we started the African Center for Leadership, Strategy and Development, it was clear to us that we are going to build an institution that will outlive me. And after 7 years, I'm happy with what we have done today. Just as the name indicates, our work at the African Center for Leadership, Strategy and Development is organized around those 3 strands: leadership, strategy, and development. In our leadership work, the basis is that we all know. In fact, you look at the literature, you discuss with people what is the problem of Nigeria, what is the problem of Africa, what is the problem of many organizations. They will tell you the number 1 problem is leadership. And we know that leaders can be trained. And unfortunately, when we looked at across the African continent, we found out that there are no places where leaders are trained. I mean, when I talk about leadership training, I do not mean people who just have leadership in their names, but they are doing things on democracy, doing things on election, doing things on that. I mean core leadership training, where you will train people about the concept of leadership, about the theories of leadership, about leadership styles, about how to lead, about what it takes to lead, about issues of strategy, of visioning, of management, of communication, and all the issues that make one to be a successful leader. And we found out that there were very few, if any, within the African continent. And then when we wanted to start the center, we now reviewed curriculum across the world. And we created a comprehensive curriculum with 17 modules, which we run in our leadership school. And I'm happy to say today that we have graduated 581 students.
That is wonderful.
Development work is very fulfilling. But I see that there is a trend in the last few years in Nigeria that many young people are, putting more emphasis on music, modeling, going for, how do you call these programs? Big Brother, Niger, and all of that. All those things are okay. Nobody's saying they are wrong. But if everybody engage in such things, who will plan our development? Who will manage our development? Who will manage it in the future? Where are the future development theorists and practitioners? Where are the future development workers? And so, in order to make young people get interested in development, we started a work which we call Young Ambassadors for Development, YAD, which is essentially an innovative and creative program to make young people begin to engage in development, to begin to engage in leadership issues, for young people to build their skills around 3 areas, conceptual, and those are the 3 skills you need for leadership. A conceptual skills, for them to be analytical, to be able to see how to do inquiry, how to be critical, how to look at issues from different dimensions, to build their technical skills, which will enable them to implement, whether in terms of IT, in terms of project management, in terms of financial management, and especially personal financial management. And then, of course, people skills, which will enable them to be able to interact with people, deal with other things. I've always said that many parents, do not really give holistic counseling to their children. We see a situation where for many parents, it's only book. But from my own personal experience in life, and from our training program, in fact, when we do the training program, one question that we normally ask our participants, which I've done for over 20 years, is the person who is taking first in primary 6, where is he today? And the answers I've gotten are so amazing and diverse. I've seen people say that the person could not proceed from primary school and is now riding Okada. Some of them are mechanics. Some of them did not go anywhere. Some, of course, made it. And some, there was one very pathetic case. They said it's a girl. Immediately after primary school, he got pregnant and is in the village today doing practically nothing. So, apart from education, I've always advised that there are 3 key areas that every young person must develop himself. First is character. You must develop your character. In fact, I argue that integrity is the easiest way to rise in this country if you don't have godfathers. If you are a person of integrity, people will like to do things with you, they will like to work with you, they would like to do a lot of things with you. The second thing, is relationship. Relationship with God and relationship with man. That is what I call vertical relationship with God and horizontal relationship with man. Many of the Holy Scriptures always tell us to love God with all our heart, with all our mind, and with all our soul. And if you love God vertically, you will love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you reach a certain level in life, your output, whether you will go further in your career, will not depend on your hard work. It will depend on the network you have built over the years. So relationship with other people is very, very important. And I always also advise that, see, student, that your classmate sitting by you is a potential governor, is a potential president. Don't be running after the governor today, or build that relationship, and in future it will become useful. There is a life story that happened. Somebody went for youth service, a medical doctor, and he was very effective. And during the military rule, they posted a soldier to the person's state. And when he got there, he said, there is a medical doctor for this state. He was the medical doctor in our barracks during his youth service. He's my commissioner for health. They started looking for the guy. They didn't see him on time. He appointed all other people, but left that in until they were able to go and see that medical doctor in Ibuzor. So, relationship, the way you do things is very important. Let me close this section by giving 7 keys to every student who wants to have a career path in development work. The first key is passion. If you want to do development work, you must have passion for the work. I'm in the development work. By the grace of God, I'm successful in every area that you can think about it. No matter how difficult Nigeria is, I'm not a billionaire, but I'm not poor. And I see many people come to me, say, I want to be like you. I say, okay. He say, you want to do development work? I say, okay. I say, where is your area of passion? They say, no, anyone where money dey. That is not the way to go. If you go that way to development work, you will not go far. So you must have passion. Passion is what you want to do. Even if they don't pay you, you'll be happy doing it. And that is why for many people entering into the development work, many of them enter through by just volunteering, doing work, whether they pay them or not, and doing internship. And then they begin to show them. Most of you are saying, who is going to wait 27 years? But what I tell people, 2 responses I give. First response is, look, check all your uncles and aunties. Add 27 years to your year. And look at those your uncles and aunties who are that age. How many of them have 1 million naira cash? The second response is that, look, you don't have to do 600. For instance, if you do 1,500 at 25%, in 25 years, you have 6.3 million. And if you increase it to 5,000 naira at 25%, in 25 years, you have 193 million. So you can see that practically every human being, through financial discipline, financial planning, and financial intelligence, can come out of poverty and become rich. So what am I saying? You must be strategic. The 5th factor is that there is a path to every career. And you must follow the path. There are many young people, and when you are following this path, you must not use money as the only criterion for taking decision. You need to look at the reputation of the organizations you are working. I've worked in 3 reputable organizations, from Center for Democracy and Development with Kayode Fayemi, to Action Aid, to African Center for Leadership Strategy and Development. There are some people, when they are working in a reputable organization, they see one small organization, because of increase of 10,000 naira or 5,000 naira salary, they run away. And then the organization collapses. And then they go into poverty forever. So you must be not only strategic, you must know that there is a pathway. Like I told you, I worked in these 3 places. When I was coming to establish the center, I had a clear purpose. And that purpose is being fulfilled. The final factor is the God factor. I think that development work is just like doing the work of God, because it's humanitarian. You are working, with commitment. you are touching the life of people, you are touching communities, and you are making sure you are preventing conflict, because when development happens, conflict is abated, and you are touching life in meaningful way. For me, I'm so happy that I'm in development work. Anyway, in my own case, it's both financially rewarding and fulfilling. And if I am born again, I will follow the same path.
Thank you very much,
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Ibuzor, for that very profound time of sharing your experience with us. We have gained a lot, and I know that our viewers also at home must have gained a lot, especially our students. One of the most remarkable things I found from what you have been telling us is your work falls within an area in peace and conflict studies that we call conditions for sustainable peace. I see that the three areas of focus for your center, leadership, strategy, and development, are areas that when you do activities in them, you create in the society conditions for sustainable peace. You prevent conflict, probably even resolve conflict.
Mm-hmm.
In peace and conflict studies, we have 4 areas that we focus on. First area, what is peace? We want to understand peace. I'm talking about peace and conflict as an academic discipline and practice. What is peace? And conflict.
Not the peace of graveyard.
No, not the
positive peace.
Positive peace.
With social justice.
Exactly. Sustainable peace. Sustainable peace. What is it? How do we achieve it? The second thing is conflict, the nature of conflict. We want to understand conflict. The third thing is we want to resolve conflict in non-violent way. We want to resolve conflict constructively. Now the fourth and the largest area is creating conditions for sustainable peace. And development is one area, is one strategy for creating these things. Because as we said earlier on, without development, there cannot be peace. Without peace, there cannot be development. Like Professor John Burton said, that there are certain, in human needs theory, we call it human needs theory, and development is one of the factors he identified that can make society stable. He said without these primordial things like security, identity, recognition, and development, society will not be stable. So we want to thank you for decades of years you have invested in creating sustainable peace in Nigeria. And we want to also thank you for showing us how to be someone like you. You moved from being an employee to becoming an employer of labor. And it's fascinating that you said the work is both rewarding and fulfilling. So I want to tell our students listening to us that we may follow the path of Dr. Ibuzor in charting the course of our life. As we move from school, he identified internship, volunteering as one of the strategies for entering into the development world. As we do that, and then gradually, as we gather experience here and there, he said we shouldn't be focusing on money. Yes. As we gather experience here and there in reputable organizations, one day we too will be making such impact in Nigeria and outside Nigeria as we have the likes of Dr. Ibuzor making in our society. So thank you very much, sir.
It's my pleasure.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. So you could stand and shake him.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's
It's my
wonderful
pleasure.
talking with you,
It's
sir.
my pleasure.
Yes, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Through the leadership school is set by set. So from set 1 to set 8. Now we have set 9. And it's a 1-year program every year. And the set 9 will be graduating in April 2018. So apart from the leadership school, we have other leadership programs like Leadership Institute, executive leadership course. At a point in time, we also developed and designed a leadership and entrepreneurship development program for youth in the Niger Delta. You know, if you look at the crisis in the Niger Delta, the conflicts in the Niger Delta, it's essentially a resource-based conflict.
Yes.
We know across the world that conflicts can be generally divided into two broad groups, either identity-related conflict or resource-based conflict. The conflict in the Niger Delta is resource-based, and the youth there constitute a pool of recruitment for conflict, for youth restiveness, and the challenges. So we designed the leadership and entrepreneurship program for youth in the Niger Delta to be able to train the youth to become role models for other youth, and to also, you know, ensure that the youth will be able to have means of livelihood. And we have a very, very positive result and a lot of stories, you know, positive stories from that program on leadership. Apart from the leadership, we do work on strategy. And our work on strategy is basically two strands. First, we support organizations to develop strategic plans. So international organizations, government agencies, private organizations, UN agencies, we supported them over the year to develop strategic plan. We also engage in mega strategies in terms of review and suggestions, like the MDGs, like the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and like the African development strategies like NEPAD, the African Vision 2053, and also other ECOWAS strategies. We engage with them and make suggestions. We also engage on national strategies. In fact, we have been in the forefront of advocacy for long-term development strategy for Nigeria. Unfortunately, the ruling elite have not recognized the need for every country to have a long-term strategic plan. Around 2011, I visited Singapore. And Singapore is a country that anybody interested in development must study, because Singapore is a country that came from third world to first world. And there are a lot of things that they did to make them to reach this level. One is the leadership that was provided by Lee Kuan Yew, but beyond that, they were very strategic, and they were doing the long-term strategic plan. When we got there, we saw the model of what Singapore will look like in 2050. You know, one of the great occupies a land of around 923,000 square kilometers. But for Singapore, the land is less than 1,000 square kilometers. So the bungalows that will be demolished and in its place skyscrapers will be erected have been identified. The year they will be demolished, the year the construction will start, and the year it will end. They got the projection of their population and they are planning for it. Nigeria needs to have this mentality of long-term development planning instead of this medium-term development planning. So those are the work that we do in terms of strategy.